видим дали четка. Отивам да проверя четкачен дали е дошъл и ще ти сваля да
Как да спирам първо, да спирам, обаче...
Това се състои повече месец повече, даже два.
Да, аз съм бил, не знам.
Не, аз съм да. Четката кара курсовете и сега ще вземе. Юри не знам дали ще дойде, това е Юри.
Как е толкова и малко там?
Ето, не е идвала, надявам се скоро вече да дойде. Не се престрашава да се случи в колата с нея. Сама да кара.
Филм за Севдор ще е на Юлов.
Мога да разбереш, тогава пак си гледам нещо, може да един обяснителен послед съм ги дете. Защото не
Тя караше.
Да, но физически в момента
Ако ледне, как стои отзад?
тя машинално ще посега.
Няма как да такова, нали? Не мога да кажа жълто да докара до тук, нали? Пък това е по-сложно. И се престраши, нали? Да. Ами тя ще проблем ще направи.
Точно има ли слушатели някакви? Има ли слушатели?
Секцията към си.
Proprio che
So
they have seen your presentations.
so how they can see me? Do I have to look at this camera?
No, look at this.
Okay, just look there, right? Okay. Yeah, sure.
Майте разсумите. Като скри. И чакай ли съм да четаш толкова?
So we don't have the funding to support him, so in the end, so give up.
If you think he is good.
Yeah, sure.
Добре, почваме английски. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Zilong from Essex University in UK. We invited him on the scientific program PCOM, and he'll be here only for 1 week, but he'll give 2 talks. The first one is now, and the second will be in our partners in that program, Faculty of Mathematics and Informatics of Sofia University. And the first talk is tightening the generalized Levenshtein bound on aperiodic correlation of quasi-complementary secure sets. So that you know that I was interested in things related to Levenshtein, so I didn't have any second thought to choose that title from the proposed.
Yeah.
Okay, so please.
Thank you very much, Peter, for having me here and for your promotion. I have enjoyed all the discussion with you, particularly on the Levenshtein, because when I did this the research, so I saw that so probably I was only person that who doing this research. So I'm really happy that you are also the expert working on this. Thank you very much. And so my talk, so the title of my talk is and so here you can see that it has 2 parts, right? And so the first part is on the generalized Levenshtein bound, which is called the GLB, and the other thing is on the Quasi-Complementary sequence set. And so for me to introduce a GLB and how we can tighten this GLB, so I will need to first have the background, and then so I will have a few the slides to introduce a Levenshtein the bound on the aperiodic correlation of the sequences. So the first thing that we'll need to define is on the so-called aperiodic correlation function. So we have 2 vectors, and so the vector the A and the vector the B. And so here, let's say if we can push this vector the B to the left side for tau position, and then we do the correlation for this the shaded area, and then we have this the aperiodic cross correlation between A and B. And here, so if A equals to B, and then we say that it is aperiodic auto correlation function of sequence A. So here the thing here is that we want to know about the correlation. So we actually want to know the aperiodic correlation, lower bound of the sequences, and so we have a few papers here, and so the first paper was on the 1971 by Sebnikov, and so the second paper was by Welch, on 1974, and then we also have one paper by Sabati and then by Levenshtein. And so for my during my PhD study, so I actually looked into this quasi-complementary the sequence the set, and so I will show how those kind of the bonds are related. Yeah. So when we talk about the correlation and the lower bound, and then we need to kind of differentiate two types of the sequence set. One is the so-called the single channel sequences, and the other is the so-called multi-channel sequences. And so the single channel the sequences is so here for each the sequence here is actually kind of the 1D is basically a vector, okay? Whereas for this multi-channel the sequences here, each the sequence here we may simply regard this as a two-dimensional matrix, okay? So in fact here is a kind of the 1D the sequence set, and whereas here is a kind of the 2D matrix set. So here so we know that the Levenshtein the bound on aperiodic and cross correlation for the single channel the sequence. In fact, that's the title. In general the Welch bound here. Okay. The other thing is that in fact in the Welch's 1974 paper, he also derived out the bound on the so-called multi-channel the sequences. In fact, it is actually the quasi-complementary the sequence set, which I will introduce in the third part. So the question that here is that so we kind of to learn the techniques from Levenshtein bound, and then we kind of derive out the bound for this kind of multi-channel the sequence set, and then and so for my paper, and then we call this as a quasi-complementary sequence set. Okay, so and so here is the big picture of this the research. And then so we have to introduce this Levenshtein bound on aperiodic correlation and the lower bound for the binary the sequence set. In fact, although the Levenshtein studied the binary the code, and we actually have some sort of the paper showing that this the bound is also the valid for the polyphase case, and here is over the complex roots of the unity. So here, in order for us to understand this the bound, so the first thing is that we will need to have a weight vector, and so here we have this the set the size which is the k, and the sequence length is basically the n. So in fact we have so essentially the number of sequences here is actually the k, and the number of and the sequence length is the n. then we actually want to know that the maximum, how the maximum aperiodic correlation function is lower bounded. And he showed that, here is the bound. And so, you can see that the bound is actually a fractional quadratic function, which is shown here. And then, so for this, and then we need to, define this a Q function, which is shown here. So just for you to know that how this the Q function look like. So you can see that, and here is the numerical part, and then you can see that this part can be written in this way, where the QA here is the quadratic matrix, which is shown here in the example. So so you can see that this the QA for the n equals to 6, and then we have this. So here you can see that this the matrix is actually the circular matrix. And then so each column from here is actually a cyclic is actually a cyclically shifted version of the first the column here. And then so this property is actually particularly useful for us to tighten the so-called generalized Levenshtein bound in the last part. So what is the key idea of the Levenshtein the bound? So here, so in fact the key idea is this. The weighted mean square aperiodic correlation, which is actually defined here. So we have, so we call this as the weighted mean square aperiodic correlation, so which is shown here. In fact, here we have this inner product here, and then each inner product here corresponds to the aperiodic cross correlation between x and y, subject to certain time shift. And also here we have this weight vector, and here you can see that how we can how Levenshtein make use of this weight vector into this this term. So the key idea here is that the weighted mean squared aperiodic correlation of any sequence subset. So here it can be A or B over the complex roots of the unity, which is shown here. Okay, and for any subset, and then we calculate the function which is f, and then we can show that it is actually equal to or greater than that of the whole set, than that of the whole set, which includes all the possible complex roots of the unity, the sequences, and so he found this. In fact, here is the key for us to understand the Levenshtein bound. So, and then with this key, and then we can also shows that actually this function is actually related to the lower bound, this tolerance, which is delta max. And then we can also prove this. This guy is actually equal to here. So with this, and then we have this the Levenshtein bound, which is shown here. Okay. So here you can see that this Levenshtein bound is actually a function of the weight vector. Okay, and then so the requirement for this weight vector is that the Wi should be a negative value, and where the sum of this weight vector should be equal to 1. So here we have a few comments or kind of remarks here. So the first thing is that here if we can consider this weight vector. Okay, so this means that we have this weight vector, and then so the each value of this element equals to 1 divided by 2n minus 1, and then we can show that this bound will reduce to the wedge bound. Okay, and so this is the first important note. And the second note is that we can actually prove that for the case that we k equals to 1 or 2. So this means that we once we have a 1 sequence or we have a 2 the sequences, and then the Levenshtein bound will never be a wedge bound. Yeah. So in this case, actually the Levenshtein bound will reduce to the wedge bound. Okay. So in fact, in his paper, he has actually mentioned this for the m equals to 1 or 2, the wedge bound cannot be improved. Yeah. And he actually mentioned that this is probably also the case for m equals to 3. So in fact, so I guess that at this time, due to the limitation of the computer, he may not be able to quickly make use of the computer and then to find the right weight vector for the case where for m equals to 3. So during my PhD, so we actually looked into this problem, and we published this paper. So we published this ISIT paper here, and we have this the TIT paper here. So we actually so here I don't plan to go into the detail on how we can choose this a weight vector, because the major important thing here is on how we can tighten the generalize the bound. Okay, but here I just want to mention the comparison for a few the weight vector. So we have this this vector. And also we have this vector, which is essentially the function. So you can see that we have so when I equals to from 0 to m minus 1, and then so the weight element value equals to 1 over the small m, and then equals to 0 for the rest of the I. And in fact, we also have found that in Levenshtein's paper, he actually choose this weight vector. But here, if you look at this one, and then you can see that it is actually very constrained, because here it actually requires that the sequence set size here is m, so the m should be
by the table of Levenshtein is actually shown by here. And in fact, he's by following this weight vector, in fact, we can also show that the resultant bound for the case m equals to 3 is also the tighter than the wedge bound. Yeah, but he actually didn't advance this. Yeah, and so here we have shown that by using a weight vector which is shown here, and then we can see that this one here we can actually achieve the tightest lower bound here, and the same case for m equals to 4. But however, once we have the m is equal to a larger than 5, even though here we use the Levenshtein the weight vector, and then they perform pretty good. Okay. Do you have some question for this part? Yeah. I mean, if you have any question, just let me know. Okay. All right. So then, let me go into the third part, which is on the generalized Levenshtein the bound, which is GLB here. So for this, I need to first introduce Marcel Gallet, and he was born in 1902, and he was a Swiss mathematician and physicist, and so he found this kind of the pair, which is called the Quasi-Complementary pair, GCP. And so I will have another. So in my second talk on this Thursday, so I will kind of so I wish to provide you a detailed discussion on this GCP. Yeah. So here in his the late 1940s, and then in his the study of infrared multi-state spectrometry, and he found out that we actually need to have a sort of a sequence pair which is defined here. So we have A and B, and then so this A and B form a so-called GCP, Quasi-Complementary pair, if they have the zero outer phase aperiodic autocorrelate sum, which is shown here. And then so you can see that and here I have given you one example, and then here we have these two binary sequences, and then if we calculate the aperiodic autocorrelation and our sequence, the A is shown right here, and then we carry on, and then we calculate the aperiodic autocorrelation of function of sequence B is shown here. Okay. Now you can see that once we to sum them together, and then we can see that for all the non-zero the tau, and then we get the 0 here. Okay. So and then in fact if you are familiar with the traditional single channel sequence design, and then you will know that it is it's not possible for us to design a single sequence with the zero aperiodic the site node. Yeah. So we know that we have this the Barker code, right? But in fact essentially the Barker codes they are actually limited to the sequence length of 13, and also in terms of aperiodic auto correlation, the maximum value is actually 1. In terms of the site node. But here you can see that we have this two. So here we have this the sequence the pair, and then we sum them together, and then we get a 0. So in fact, we can also use this kind of the concept, for some sort of orthogonal design. Yeah. So we have many papers on this. So in fact, we can kind of to generalize this the concept. Okay, and then here we can actually consider a multi-channel sequence set. So essentially, each code is actually a two-dimensional matrix. So we can see that the number of channel here is m here, whereas the sequence length is actually m. Okay, so we can further define the aperiodic cross correlation between these two matrices, right? So then what we will do is that we do the cross correlation between this channel, and then we do the cross correlation between this channel and this channel. Okay, and then we sum it together, and then we get this aperiodic cross correlation. So here, based on the idea of the complementary pair, and then we can here also define complementary matrix here. So here we say that this guy is actually a complementary matrix if the aperiodic autocorrelation sum of all the component the sequence is equal to 0, and for all the non-zero tau. Yeah. So we have this one, and then again we can kind of continue, and then we can kind of to consider a set of complementary matrices, and then so the set size here is basically the K, and then we actually here require that every code here should be a complementary matrix. Okay, so this means that for every code here with the so they have the 0 aperiodic autocorrelation sum, and then in addition to this, for every two codes here, and then they also have the 0 aperiodic cross correlation sum, which is shown here. And then once we have this, and then we say that here actually this is the perfect complementary sequence set, which I call as the PCC, the PCSS. In fact, if we look into the paper by Welch, and then if we follow this the lower bound, and then we can see that a K here, which is the number of two-dimensional matrices, should be equal to or less than the M. So this means that the number of such a complementary matrices, we have this the cell size upper bound. Okay, so here once we kind of to apply such kind of complementary matrices to communication, so we wish that the value of this the K should be able to achieve the upper bound. Okay, once this kind can achieve the upper bound, and then we call this as a complete complementary sequence set. Okay, so here I have provided you one example. So we have so essentially the sequence length here is 4, and the number of channel here is also equal to 4. So this means that when we do when we try to calculate the cross correlation, so for example between this code and this code, so we calculate the cross correlation between this row and this row, and then we to carry on, and then we calculate the cross correlation between this row and this row, so on and so forth, and then we can see that for this CC SS, formed by this the four matrices, and then we have the zero auto and also the cross correlation function here, which is shown here. Okay. In fact, we have found numerous application for such complementary sequences. So from earlier application on multi-state spectrometry to radar sensing, channel estimation and synchronization for communication, the system. In fact, they have also been used to construct, one, which is called a large area synchronized the spreading the sequences in CDMA, and the most importantly, it can be used, to achieve the PAP reduction in multi-carrier system. And in fact, very recently, for the 60 gigahertz millimeter wave communication, and then they have been used, as a preamble sequences to do the channel estimation and the synchronization. All right. So now the question here is that so we know that one application for such the perfect complementary sequence set is for the multi-carrier CDMA communication. So, and here we know that for such the PCCS, in fact the cell size is actually upper bounded by M. Okay. So now the question is that given the M channel, how we can support more than the M CDMA user. So for that actually, this means that we will need to kind of relax the certain condition, and then so what we will do here is that here we actually try to relax the zero correlation sum from 0 to the small value, and then with this one, so we can say that so we form a quasi-complementary sequence set. Okay. So the question here is how we can derive out the lower bound. So I have just now I have just mentioned that actually in the paper by Welch, and so he has also derived out the probably the first known bound on the QCCS, and then so we have the cell size, the K, and the number of channel is the M, and sequence length is the M, and then we have this the lower bound here. Okay, so in fact here you can see that once we set this value to be 0, so we can see that we can actually to get that the K should be the upper bounded by M. Okay, so so actually this actually gives the cell size, the upper bound of is the BCSS. But however, here you can see that once we have the K larger than the M, then we can see that this guy must be larger than 0, right? So this means that in fact this means the price that we will need to pay in order for us to support more users. Okay. So the big picture is this. Okay. So a wedge bound. So we have a wedge bound for the conventional single channel, the sequence set. And then Levenshtein actually improved wedge bound. So we also know that Levenshtein we also have the wedge bound for QCSS. So, but now the question here is whether it's possible for us to make use of the techniques by Levenshtein, and then we can kind of derive out the so-called generalized Levenshtein bound for this QCSS. So here I want to kind of recall the key idea here again, and then so I have mentioned this in the beginning. So the main idea is actually so we need to have this equation. So the weighted mean square aperiodic correlation of any sequence subset, which is shown here, should be equal to or larger than the data of the whole set. Okay, and then with this one, so we have actually derived out this the lower bound in this paper, and then so you can see that it's actually very similar to the Levenshtein, the bound. So in fact here, if we set the m here to be 1, you can see that actually this bound will actually reduce to the Levenshtein bound. Yeah, and here again, if we set the weight vector to be this guy, and then we can actually show that this GLB will reduce to the wedge bound, which is shown here. Yeah. Okay. Now, so we have the further remarks, and then we can actually show that when the K, which refers to the set size, is equal to or larger than 3m, and then we can show that actually this bound can be reduced to this form, and then we can also prove that actually this bound is actually tighter than the wedge bound. When the K is equal to or larger than 3m plus 1. And meanwhile, we can also prove that when K becomes sufficiently large, and then this bound will tend to the value over here, and then whereas for the wedge bound, it will tend to the value of mm divided by 2. So here one fundamental question is that can we find some way to construct such kind of optimal QCSS with respect to this bound? Yeah, so far we don't know how we can construct. But we have we can also kind of derive out the correlation lower bound for the periodic quasi-complementary sequence step, and then for that one we have some way to kind of to design optimal the sequence set. But here since that is more on the aperiodic one, so that is more challenging. Okay, now let's come to the last part. So the idea here, so the goal here is so how we can tighten this the GLB, because here you can know that it is in a very complicated form, and then so we have this so it is in a fractional quadratic the function, and then so the goal here is whether it's possible for us to find a systematical way. I mean, for us to identify the weight vector which can lead to a tighter Levenshtein bound. Okay, so how we can do this? So again, that in order for us to do this. So the idea here is to kind of to minimize, this guy, okay? Because once we are able to minimize this guy, and then it's more likely for us to minimize the GLB, okay? So but for us to do this, and then we have two conclusions. So the first the conclusion is actually regarding the principal and the secondary eigenvalue. So the principal eigenvalue is shown here, whereas the secondary eigenvalue is shown here. In fact, it is very, very important, for us to know that the second one actually, the constraint quadratic function here, is actually the convex. If all the secondary eigenvalue, which is shown by this guy, if they are non-elective, and then in this case, actually the global minimum will be achieved by this weight vector. Okay. So how we can do this? So in fact, here, we can show that, in order for us to ensure that a secondary eigenvalue is the non-elective value, and then so we need to ensure that the set size should be equal to or less than this guy. Okay. So in fact, we can shows that the GLB is actually the tighter the corresponding wedge bound, it is actually necessary for us to have this condition which is shown here. Okay, it's shown here. Okay. Now, so the question here is that can we find a weight vector such that the resultant GLB is actually tighter for all the k equal to or larger than k bar plus 1, and for all the m equal to or larger than 2. Can we find one such weight vector? Let me show you more. And then, so in fact, so I have mentioned this step function weight vector, which is shown here. Okay. In fact, we can use this weight vector, and then we can get this lower bound here. Okay. So we can see that if we choose the weight vector, and then we can see that actually this lower bound actually is tighter for k larger than 3m plus 1. So we can now here, if we plot out this one, so the horizontal axis is actually I think here is m, is sequence length, and here and then if we calculate the value of the ratio, the k divided by m, so we can see that for all the area above this green curve, and then we are done. Because we can simply use the weight vector. But however, according to this condition, we actually so the goal here is whether it's possible for us to find a weight vector for all the k equal to larger than k bar plus 1. So actually, this actually refers to the area, above this curve, So here you can see that. So we have, one region which is from this area, and we don't know whether we can find a weight vector which can lead to a tighter GLB or not. Okay, and so how we can do this? So in order for us do this one, so I have a just now I have I mentioned that this quadratic term, in terms of the matrix here, it is actually the circulant matrix, and then we know that such kind of the circulant matrix, we have a certain the property. So the first property is that we can show that this the circulant matrix can be decomposed in this way, where the capital F refers to the DFT matrix, yeah, and then here is eigen value here. So here we can show that. So then with this one, then we can define Q here refer to the first column of this the matrix, and then with this one, then we can show that this quadratic term which is shown here can be is actually essentially equal to this guy. Okay, so here you can see that once we have this one, then we can convert this quadratic function, in the form of a Fourier transform of the weight vector. So here we call this as a kind of the frequency, the domain master. How we can title it. Okay. So here you can see that. So we have all this, and then we have all this, and then we have this a new vector which is v here. Okay. Yeah. And then v here actually refer to the Fourier transform of this weight vector. Okay, and then with this one, then we can show that actually the problem that we will need to minimize can be converted to the problem which is shown here. Okay, and then this is the problem. And then what we will do next is that so we actually define this r square which is shown here, and then we can further prove that this guy, since we know that lambda L, for the range, when L is from 2 to 2n to minus 3, and then this guy should be equal to 0 or a positive value, and then so we can show that essentially this guy can be equal to a larger than 2 lambda 1 r the square here, where the equality is actually achieved only and if we have this v L equal to 0 for all the L equal to 2 and then to 2n minus 3. Okay, and then so then we continue this, and then we can with this condition, and then we can simplify this problem to the problem shown here. Yeah, and then we can show that we have this a weight vector which is shown here, because the reason is that now that we know the vector v here, and then we can to carry out the Fourier transform, and then we can know that this weight vector must be in the form of here. Okay. Now the one more thing is actually the fractional function which is shown here, which is a function of r the square. In fact, it is the monotonically decreasing, with r the square. If we have this the condition, okay. So monotonically decreasing. Okay. So this means that we actually need to know the range of r square. Okay. What will be the largest the possible value of the r? Now, in order for us to do this, and we also have one more condition that this weight vector should be a non-elective vector, and then this guy must satisfy this condition, and then with that, so we know that the r should be in the range of 0 and 1 divided by 2 cosine pi divided by 2n minus 1. So with this one, so we actually get this optimized weight vector, which is shown here, and then we get this the generalized Levenshtein the bound from this the weight vector, and we show that this the weight vector is actually tighter than the wedge bound for all the k equal to or larger than k bar plus 1, and for all the m equal to or larger than the 2. So with this a vector, so we actually close this region. So this region. So with this new weight vector, so we can be sure that all the area, and then we can be tighter than a wedge bound. Yeah. So that's the end of my talk. Yeah. Just end of my talk. Thank you.
And some questions or comments?
Yeah.
Do you know Hoffman bound in graph theory on the side of independent set? Hoffman bound.
No, I don't know.
Lowest capacity, lowest bound channel capacity. You know, yes?
No. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, let me try to.
Yeah.
So then, can you put several slides ago?
Yeah.
Back. Okay, so maybe forward? Yes, this slide. You see that, so the formula 12 formula is, so you say, you try to find a situation when the vector is, when you have equality, yes?
Yeah.
And the analysis is very close to Hoffman formula. So
Yeah, Hoffman.
Hoffman, yes.
Oh, the Hoffman formula.
This is because you need the same condition. So you just the structure is very close. So maybe is it true that you need to find the pseudo-adjacency matrix proper to the adjacency matrix of some graph?
Yeah.
And then evaluate how the set is close to independent of a set of a given size is close to independent.
Probably you can send me more, some of those relevant paper on this, and then so I can look into it. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot for coming.
Similarity is coming from the eigenvalue techniques.
Yes, of course, but of course it's comes from, of course it's eigenvalue technique, yes.
How the problems are similar.
Maybe the problem sounds similar, but
so the construction. So the second part of the case. So my question would have the second part, which says that for some reasons, lowest method is much more simpler than Hoffman. So the lowest method allows you to find maxima instead of minimum, and it also says that it is linear programming, so it is also provides the method how to compute this maximum in linear time, maybe quadratic time, in polynomial time.
Okay, something else? Okay, so let me try to fix this. So in the classical case, Levenshtein proposes something which is in some range, in some region, it is still optimal.
Yeah.
So you extended it for larger regions, but didn't improve in his region. Yes, and it seems that it's similar here.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So you can see here. So the similar the case here, you know, so we can't improve the region here, you know, for just the region below this curve, and then we are not able to, you know, improve the Welsh bound. Yeah, so we can only improve the region, you know, above this curve. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. So here I believe that so we will need to have some new method, you know, for us to, you know, further improve the region, you know, yeah, below here.
Yeah, and also what I didn't see in Levenshtein paper, so the denominator when we have the sum of squares.
Yeah.
So in his work and maybe in your work it was okay, look with the numerator only and the denominator as it happens. But in your new work we already set the sum of squares equal to some r squared. So we optimize for some square.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we can optimize for all squares. Okay,
yeah,
in some region again.
So here you can see that in my so in this work, so we consider this the denominator. Yeah. So here, you know, in fact we actually so we define this guy, you know, to be radius of a ball, you know, something like a ball, and then
you can further optimize.
Yes, and so we also use this the property, and then this guy should be equal to another day, then 2 number 1 r square, and then in order for us to minimize this guy, and then we just simply set VL equal to 0.
Maybe on that large term, the second term which you neglect.
The second.
No, I mean my original because if you come back to original Levenshtein bound, and try the same way to fix the sum of squares of W's. Yeah. Did you try this or
we tried this. Yeah. So in fact we tried this. In fact here we can also to plug this the weight vector into the Levenshtein bound, right? And then here what we will need to do is that we just simply set the value of m here to be 1, and then we can get another bound.
Yeah, but it should be weaker than the
no, I don't think so. Yeah, no. So you can see that. So the strength of this bound is it can cover the largest the zone, largest zone, and also it is asymptotic, nor bound.
Actually, it's not comparable. Okay. Okay, we will of course will discuss later.
Yeah.
Some